Okay, my friends, another shocker du jour. This guy here has been going around to all of these really exciting places and saying, I can't figure this out. I wish I could figure this out. If anybody can help me. I tried and he blocked me. But I'm not going to even say who it is because I don't think he wants to be associated with me whatsoever. So that's all right. But I am going to show you what he is looking at, and then maybe sometime down the road, I would love to have somebody on site doing what he's doing to help me. But as of yet, that just hasn't happened. So we'll see, maybe somewhere down the road, hopefully. All right, so don't forget, that's what we're looking at. And you see all these little holes? You see the red right near these little holes? There's always a little red. It's red because that's where the blood is servicing all this muscle tissue. All right, so don't forget, here he is walking past this structure, and he's going to go into a whole bunch of gigantic biology. Now, I am going to show you this in my shop in miniature, but what he's looking at right there is muscle tissue, and it's fed with red blood, and the black spots, the black stripes, are primarily connective tissue. So this is in an area where down here it's almost exclusively connective tissue. Out here it starts to run into the muscle. I have basically the same thing here. All right, this is basically exactly what he was walking by, is this stuff. Down here, it's almost exclusively connective tissue. As you get out here, it turns into muscle, and then it just falls apart. You see how it's broken here, broken right here? Right in that area, it just turns into muscle, and you get all the red blood. Now, here is a tendon. Tendon, you see it's brown? This is pinkish. This has virtually no blood at all. Now, the red blood here pours into the muscle. You see it just literally pouring into this muscle, and it's going to be exactly the same as what he's walking by. And again, he's in the tendinous area, and then he's hitting the muscle area. I can see it very clearly if you know how to look at these things. You see down here, there's hardly any red blood, and there's real strappy brown looking stuff. And then right about in this area, this is just a stick sticking up here. This has nothing to do with this here. But you see all of a sudden it starts getting red and bloody. That's exactly what happens as you transition from tendon into muscle. And then he's going to show places where there's muscle all over the place. All right, let me just run through the pictures that he showed. You see these layers? Those are layers of tissue, and some of it is eroded. All right, and all down in here, these are actually layers of a creature's body. I don't know what kind of creature it was. Now, he's showing here, this is all the muscle. You see how you still see all the banding and all that? But now we're getting really into muscly area where there's a lot of red blood. I mean a lot. It takes a lot of blood to run muscles. And here's another shot of this. It's connective tissue primarily when you see this stuff. But then it's running into a little different types of connective tissue going into muscle. It's a transitioning thing. And here he is up here. You see this? That's not just weathering. Look at that. I'm going to show you some shots that'll knock your socks off in a minute. But this thing here, that's not just accidental weathering. Look at it. And like he says, I'm lost. I can't figure any of this stuff out. I would love to talk to this guy, but like I say, I am what you call persona non grata at the moment. Now, up here, you see this red blood? I mean, that's red. And then above that is, because I can show you this in mine too. It's got the same red layer, and then up at the top, it's got that really scruffy looking stuff. And down here, you see, this is all body tissue underneath. Now, he's in all kind of different places of the body. Like this is real muscly. This is pretty much muscly. He was in a tendinous area here and so forth. So anyway, let me show you let me show you mine in the microscope so that you can fresh in your mind. Remember this. This is the most important one to remember right here. Transitioning from tendon to muscle. It happens just like that. You know, before we go into that, I just want to show you, this is not unusual, it's everywhere. This is muscle fibers And this is the abrupt transition where it goes into a connective tissue piece. And I will show you this, there's no question about it. This is muscle, and these are the exact patterns that muscles make. Now look at this. These are breasts. That's breast tissue. And that right there is the sternum, right in between. And both of these are breasts. Now look at the tissue here versus this tissue here, and how it comes up around and how it wraps around, and the different colors. Now look at this. This is what body tissue looks like in a woman. That's the breast tissue. Now, it's very well patterned in there as well. The human body is unbelievable, the way the muscles go, and they have these connective tissues, and then they seam up into your shoulders and all these other areas where they come together, just as I showed you a second ago. And this one here, you see right up here? Exactly identical to what's in the human body, identical. All right, look at this carefully. You see that? You see all those little investments? You see that in the shoulders? How the muscles tie in together? It's exactly identical to what you see in the desert there. And here's where you have layers and layers and layers. So some layers have worn off, and some layers are exposed now. So there's the several different layers that they make to get down to these areas. And there's all kinds of different areas in your body where the tissue locks together in different ways. But primarily what we were looking at is right there. Breast muscle. The woman has a breast tissue that's just specifically to the woman, whereas a man does not. All right, well, when I say breast tissue, what I'm talking about is this stuff right up here, which is the mammary glands, basically. So if you come back here, you see, this is what you're looking at there on top of the chest muscles. A little bit different. Vive la différence. Like I said, what he's showing is nothing unusual. This is stomach tissue, stomach lining. Well, guess what this is? Stomach lining. And that is a guy walking on it. This is near Vermilion Cliffs. And this is what you see. You see that? That's literally bloody tissue. And these are membranes. This is some membrane either in the stomach or it's in the intestines. But these are membranes. And this is the tissue that's under the membrane that absorbs the nutrients or whatever when this thing was alive. It's crazy, but it's true. And the other thing is, I will show you in a minute, this is not true. Millions of years in one picture. No, there was a great worldwide flood. 100% of the world was flooded. It was the Triassic. They call it the Great Dying. Everything died that was on Earth. This is a tendon. From here, that little round spot. I'm going to show you this on mine, the one I have right here. And that is the tendon strap running right down the center. And then you have all of these little things here. And the reason these are little, and this is the big one, is because that's the anchor. This should be able to go like this and this to service the muscle. The muscle's going to go this way and that way. So this has to go this way and that way. That means it can't be locked. These have to slide along these other little plates that they're on so that they can jiggle back and forth. That is just sort of a really heavy-duty strap. That's the one that really anchors. That's the anchor. I have the same thing here in mine. Identical. All right, remember I just showed you that thing sticking straight up in the ocean? That's right here. And this is the anchor that has that white strap coming. And then all of these are like strippy straps. And this could twist this way and that way depending where the muscle went to. Not too much, just a little bit. And it depends on where it is in the body. It may not move at all. But that right there is the anchor. You see that? That's the anchor coming out here. That's the big, tough guy. The rest of them slide back and forth as it does this. Here you see it starts getting pink. That's because the muscle requires red blood. But in the first original spots, it's almost still tendon. It's what they call it abrupt transitions. And they are a certain stage. This is an abrupt transition zone right here. You see how they're breaking right there? And then out there's another abrupt transition. That means they're getting more and more muscle instead of connective tissue. But you have to do it slowly. You have to work, well, not really slowly. It's pretty abrupt. But they just start to break, and then all of a sudden you're into a muscle, and the muscle is just floppy. Once it's dried out, it just falls apart. So now what you were looking at right here, excuse me, is a tendon with a ball, and that had to anchor to something. Well, what would it anchor to? In this case, it was a bone. You see, this is the same thing as this. And that right there is that pin that I talked about right here. And that is anchored into the bone. And somehow, I'm not sure exactly what this is, but this continues the tendon on into the bone or whatever, because I could see this looks like a wrinkle zone. But it is definitely, the tendon is coming over, locking into the shoulder or whatever it was. I don't know what it was specifically, but I can tell you what. This is the tendon, right from here over to here, and it is tough, tough, tough. And that's why the bone eroded away and the muscle eroded away. And you ended up with this, and the ball is right at the very end, as you recall, I am sure. There it is. The bone would have been here, and the muscle started right there. There's no other reason this thing's sticking up in the air like that. They think this just, everything else eroded around it and left this here. Well, that's insanity. And this is not millions of years in one picture. This is a couple of days as the thing died. All right, this is the bone area right there. That's glue. That is literally glue that glues this tendon into this area here. Now I'm going to put a little water on it because you can see it much, much better. And when we put it in the microscope, you'll be able to see it. You'll be able to see the same thing you're seeing that guy was walking across. You see? See those little straps? When I put that in the microscope, you should be able to see that very, very well. Because he's obviously in some gigantic thing that, you know, we got to put it in the microscope. So I'm going to get it ready. All right, so we're looking at this in the microscope. And here it is up here. Now, it's still a little moist, and it's got to dry up for a second. And then, here, let me just add to the drying process. And here's what he was walking around on. You know, that was on the wall right next to him. Whoops. You see it? Now, where it's dry, you can't really see much. When you get stuff wet, that's when you can see it. You see all those little ridges and lines? It's exactly what he was at. Now, we're going further out in the muscle. Now we're getting out to where the muscle is muscle, and that's bundles. Let me come out to where I can show you that bundle up close. Gotta put a little water on there. Those are muscle fibers. These are all muscle fibers coming out. And these are abrupt transitions when they break off like that, abruptly. All right? And all inside, well, there's one right there. There's a pock mark where we're starting to get where the blood is. Out here, it's just all nothing but blood. You see it out here? That's the end of the muscle where it breaks completely. You can see a little actually red blood coming out of it. And then at that end, that's where it just turns into sarcomeres. And muscle sarcomeres just erode and fall apart. Up to here, you still got some pretty good connective tissue. And you get back further, and you get more and more of the connective tissue. Oh man, this sucker's heavy. Either that or I'm getting off a week. Or both. Now, this here is more up to the connective tissue area. See, we keep going back up to here. And we just keep getting more and more connective tissue. But once you get way over the other end, I showed you where all the blood is. All right, so here's some more of that muscle. And I can put a little moisture on there, you see it. But you see how all the red blood up here is feeding the muscle tissue? If you don't have red blood, the muscle's not going to work. And that red blood is working its way down into the muscle tissue. You see how it's all turning red down here? Because now you're getting into the muscle. You keep going back this way, and you're getting into the connective tissue. You see that? That's the connective tissues. Ooh. Hold on a second. Oh, man. All right, let's see. Put a little water on there, see if you can see it any different. You see how it changes right quick? You can see it's just nothing but muscle fibers. You can see, I mean, nobody can deny this. It's just not deniable. Those are the muscle fibers, and the blood is in there. I noticed tons of blood in here. I mean, it's literally saturated with blood. There's a couple of arteries coming out of here that are fairly good size. So there's no question we could get blood out of here. Well, for what? I did have my DNA test done. Nobody cares. You see how you can see the tissue layers? Same thing he was just walking through. All right, you see that? That's blood. That is literally blood. You see that? Now watch, I'll put a little water in there and that'll actually turn just exactly like blood. You see it? That, my friends, is blood. All you gotta do is get a little moist. Blood turns, you know, you put a little water in there, it rehydrates very quickly. And that's all that is blood. Now if I put catalase on there, that should really react. But I'm running short, so I'm not going to bother. Anyway, I think I've proven my case. As I showed you, let's look down at the pictures one more time. Not millions of years. This is a tendon, and that's the anchor. A bone would have been here, muscle would have been there. All right, this is what I was just showing you, this is the muscle, that's the tendon, and then the bone was over there. And where I was scraping up around is up in this area, where it's just nothing but blood. And then I showed you this, which is nothing more than some kind of intestinal tissue, stomach, I'm not sure what. But it's no question, it's biology. Oops, this thing's going to go over on me. Whoa, baby. Okay, that's out of the way. Now, this was the stuff we were looking at. That's it right there. And that's more the connective area, and that's more the red bloody area. You need a lot of blood to work. And that thing would have used a lot of blood. I showed you the breast tissue, and I showed you this. I mean, think about it. That's not just accidental. And I showed you the actual breast. I mean, that's what the tissue lines look just like that in the anatomical. That's what they are, and that's what this is. And all of this stuff is exactly what I showed you. And here's when they get into the really, really red bloody area. Now this may even be getting into like a lung or something like that. I'm not sure where he is here. Because the lungs have alveoli. They have holes in them. Big, well, not big, but they have a lot of round little holes in them. Oh, I guess that's it. I guess that's all I can say, my friends. Happy Easter, and all we want to do is try to find reality as far as I'm concerned, because I also looked at the Shroud of Turin, and as far as I can tell, I would have to say that it was from a scourged human being that had all exactly the markings you would expect, and it was in a fire and has some of its singed off here and there, but you can clearly see the marks, and it's been passed down as a relic, and he was a pretty well recognized guy. So I don't know. It sure looked real to me. Anyway, as far as I'm concerned, all of this stuff relates to monsters and giants and titans and all of the things they wrote in the ancient texts. And I think Jesus Christ came here to say, this stuff was real. This stuff was real. You better listen to me and do what I'm telling you to do, because it's real. And when you get there, it ain't going to be nice. All right? Or it might be wonderful. But I can tell you what, there's obligations before it gets wonderful. It doesn't just get nice just because you say, oh, I'm sorry for all the bad things I did, just before you take your last breath. I don't think that's the way it works. Although, I don't know. I have no idea. I have people say, all you got to do is say, forgive me, and you're forgiven. Could be. Well, I hope so. Because, you know, I think everybody's got something to be ashamed of. And I got a lot of somethings, and I'm hoping I'll be forgiven. That's all I can hope for. Because if this stuff is as I'm showing you it is, all Apollodorus, Hesiod, Ovid, they all had the same stories. And there's not one single culture on the face of this planet that doesn't have giants, dragons, and gods, and battles in the heavens, and a great flood. I'm going with this as all being true. All right, I love you all. Happy Easter. And hopefully this you get something out of this. Maybe you won't. That's up to you. I love you all. Bye.